This is the new Zhiyun Weebill 3E, and this is the Zhiyun Weebill 3S, which was released about a year ago. Now both of these gimbals are confusingly similar, yet the new Weebill 3E is actually $70 cheaper than the older Weebill 3S. So why is that, and which one of these gimbals is right for you? Well, let's find out. A big thanks to Zhiyun for sponsoring this video. To kick things off, let's look at some of the similarities between these two. Besides the color, you'll notice that both of these gimbals look very similar. They weigh almost the same, around 1,040 grams without the quick release plate and tripod. They're pretty much identical in size, and both are compact gimbals with a very good load capacity. The 3E and the 3S actually have the exact same motor capacity. So even though the Weebill 3E is cheaper, it can hold the same weight as the Weebill 3S. Now, Zhiyun doesn't specify any weight capacity, but as an example, they can both take a Sony a7S III with a 24-70 G master without any problems. Now, one thing I did notice when comparing these two gimbals was that the vortex mode was actually faster on the Weebill 3E than on the 3S, which I thought was a little strange because I never noticed any other differences in motor capacity. And in case you're wondering, yes, they were both set to these same vortex settings. Looking at the controls of both these gimbals, again, they are identical. You've got a joystick, a record button, a mode switch button, a power button, a menu control wheel, and a customizable trigger button, as well as a customizable wheel on the front. Apart from a different startup logo, the screen and the menu on the 3S and the 3E are exactly the same. They both have all the same modes that you'll find on most gimbals. So you've got pan follow, lock, follow, POV, and vortex. Both these gimbals support Bluetooth camera control. That means you can trigger recording on your camera wirelessly with the record button on the gimbal, so no need to reach up to your camera to start recording. You can control these two gimbals via Bluetooth and using Zhiyun's ZY Play app. It's pretty straightforward to connect, and the app works perfectly fine for both of them. They have the same locking mechanism, and this works great for easily balancing the gimbal. You simply lock and unlock each axis as you balance it. And if you want to stow away your gimbal, you can fold all the arms and lock them into place. They also both have the same quick release plate that allows you to very easily switch from horizontal mode to vertical mode. You can slide the camera off, turn it around, and then slide it back on vertically. This is something that Zhiyun introduced on the Weebill 3S, and they decided to keep it on the 3E, which I believe makes a lot of sense. A lot of people are shooting vertical video or switching between the two, and this system makes it very simple to do that. They both have the same 2600 mAh battery. However, the Weebill 3S supposedly has a runtime of 11.5 operating hours, whereas the Weebill 3E should have a runtime of only 10.5 operating hours. I'm not sure why there is that difference since they are using the same battery, but honestly, I've never used a gimbal for that long, so both of them should last you for a full day of shooting. Alright, so it's obvious that these gimbals are very similar, but let's go out and shoot some stuff with both of them, and after we'll have a look at the few things that do set these two apart. So we're gonna shoot a few different shots each time with the Weebill 3E and with the Weebill 3S, so you can see if you notice any difference between them. So we've got Vincent over there on the skateboard and then Frieder on the behind the scenes cam, so let's do it. So after shooting with these two gimbals for a little while now, they actually feel very similar, but let's head back to the studio and look at some of the differences between these two. The Weebill 3S has a USB-C port on the back for camera control and for image transmission control. I'm not going to go into detail about image transmission control, but it basically means that you're able to control the gimbal remotely. The Weebill 3E also has a USB-C port on the back there, but it only supports camera control, so no image transmission control. The Weebill 3S has another USB-C port on the front of the gimbal, and this one is for focus motor control. The Weebill 3E does not have this port and therefore does not support focus motor control. When it comes to build quality, the Weebill 3E just looks a little bit less polished. The 3S has nice Zhiyun branding on the motors, this golden ring on the front wheel, and just little things that make it look a little bit nicer, I guess. The 3E doesn't have a lot of these finishing touches, but they do seem to be built from the same materials, which is a mix of higher quality plastic and metal. You can buy the 3S as a standard version or as the combo version, where you would then get the sling grip and the wrist rest. The 3E only comes in a standard version, so there's no kit that comes with this extra handle. But if you want that sling grip and wrist rest, you can buy the Weebill 3S Master Move accessories separately, which then makes the price between these two a little bit less, but we'll talk about that later on. Now, I personally really like the sling grip and the wrist rest on the Weebill 3S, and I actually almost never use the gimbal without these accessories. It just slides on the bottom of the gimbal with a nice quick release system, and this gives you extra support on your wrist when holding the gimbal, which is a really great feature. It especially helps a lot when you've got long days with the gimbal, and I honestly don't know why other gimbal brands haven't adapted this feature as well. The sling grip is handy if you're doing a lot of low angle shots, but also just as an extra handle to hold the gimbal. You can change the position of this grip so you can move it up or down depending on your liking, but you can also move it towards the side, and that allows you to get this kind of dual handle grip setup, which is pretty nice. Now, do you really need this extra handle though? Well, I guess it depends on what you're shooting, like for example a lot of underslung type shots, and what kind of setup you're flying on your gimbal. For lighter setups, I suppose there's less need for the extra grip and support. One feature on the Weebill 3S that a lot of people were divided on is this small light on the front. Is it useful or just a little gimmicky? I guess it depends who you're asking. Anyway, this light goes up to 1000 lux and you can change the temperature from 2600 Kelvin to 5500 Kelvin. Zhiyun decided to leave out this light on the 3E, they just kinda took it out and put a piece of black plastic there. I personally don't mind that it's gone because I've never used it on the Weebill 3S. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the Weebill 3E is $70 cheaper than the Weebill 3S. That is if you buy the standard version of both of these. But if you want to have the sling grip and wrist rest, the price difference between the two becomes a little bit less. And to be honest, this is where I'm a bit lost as to whether or not the Weebill 3E and the 3S need to coexist. Sure, the Weebill 3S looks a bit more refined and it has a bit more features, but some of those extra features are perhaps a little bit gimmicky and I'm not sure anyone really needs them. But hey, it's actually great that Zhiyun released this Weebill 3E, because by dropping the price, it basically gives more filmmakers the ability to buy a very powerful compact gimbal. I mean, the Weebill 3S is a fantastic gimbal for its price, and now you can actually buy its twin brother for even less money. So it's a win-win situation for all of us. Anyway, if you want to check out the Weebill 3E or the Weebill 3S, I'll have links for you in the video description. But before you go, having a good gimbal is only half the battle. You should also know how to use it properly. So have a look at this video here where I show you a bunch of great gimbal moves to use in your next project. Alright, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!